At 100,000 miles, your car isn't just crossing a milestone, it's fueling a buffet of hidden profits for mechanics. They know exactly what's about to fail, but they'll never tell you until it's too late. These aren't routine checkups, they're silent cash machines. Today, I'm exposing them all. Buckle up, knowledge here saves thousands. Number 17. Replace the hidden PCV valve. One part quietly holding things together is the PCV valve. Small, hidden, and rarely mentioned. Mechanics replace it because they know what happens when it's ignored. This little valve controls crankcase pressure and keeps gases flowing the right way. When it starts failing, pressure builds up inside the engine. Oil begins leaking through seals. Sludge forms in places you can't see. Sometimes the engine idles rough. Other times you'll smell burnt oil or hear a faint whistle. These are early warnings, but most drivers never connect them to the PCV. The part itself is cheap, usually $20 to $50. Yet when it clogs, it can trigger costly repairs. Blown gaskets, ruined seals, or even full engine damage running into thousands. Mechanics rarely mention it, yet they quietly swap it during 100,000 service. One of those secrets drivers are never told. After all, their business thrives when you keep coming back. Even if you're the most careful driver, parts like the PCV valve have a shelf life. Eventually, they fail, and replacing them before that point saves you from costly repairs. One tiny valve breathes life into the engine. But what about the parts holding everything still when the whole car shakes? Let's talk stability. Number 16. Check worn engine and transmission mounts. Your car can feel solid on the outside, yet be shaking itself apart underneath. That's the sneaky job of worn engine and transmission mounts. They're small rubber and metal pieces designed to hold everything steady while absorbing vibration. At 100,000 miles, most of them are already tired, even if they don't look it. A failing mount doesn't always announce itself loudly. At first, you might notice subtle vibrations through the steering wheel or faint clunks when shifting gears. Many drivers mistake this for old age in their car, but it's really a warning. When mounts collapse or crack, the engine and transmission shift more than they should, stressing every connected part. Ignore them long enough, and the damage spreads. Exhaust pipes can snap, CV joints wear faster, and sensitive sensors get knocked out of alignment. What began as a $200 to $400 mount replacement could quickly balloon into repairs costing thousands. Mechanics know this, which is why they quietly inspect mounts during big services like 100,000 checkups. They may not spell it out, but replacing worn mounts restores smoothness, protects your drivetrain, and keeps repair bills from snowballing. It's not just comfort, it's protection for the heart of your car. Things can stay quiet under the hood, but when the road itself starts whispering at highway speeds, that's a clue you shouldn't ignore. Number 15. Listen for wheel bearing noise. That low growl you hear on the highway? Many drivers blame it on cheap tires or rough pavement, but a mechanic's ear knows better. It's often the wheel bearings whispering their last warnings. At 100,000 miles, they've taken thousands of spins, hits, and pothole punches. A healthy wheel bearing keeps your wheel spinning smooth and straight. When it starts to fail, the sound grows. A faint hum at first, then a rumble that rises with speed. It's easy to dismiss as just road noise. That's why many mechanics don't even mention it unless you ask. They know you'll eventually come back, and by then, the damage is worse. Here's the danger. Worn bearings don't just make noise. They loosen your wheel's grip on the hub. That can mean steering wobble, uneven braking, or in the worst cases, the wheel separating entirely. A small growl can snowball into a full-blown safety hazard. Replacing a bearing costs $300 to $600 per wheel. Ignore it, and you'll pay far more. Control arm wear, brake damage, even axle stress. Catch it early, and you keep the ride safe, smooth, and solid. Number 14. Clean your throttle body and mass airflow sensor. Your car breathes just like you do, and at thousands of miles, its lungs are dirty. Every press of the gas pedal pulls air through the throttle body and mass airflow sensor. Over time, they clog with carbon, dust, and oil mist. The result? Sluggish acceleration, rough idle, and that frustrating lag when merging onto the freeway. Mechanics often clean these parts quietly during a tune-up. They don't hype it up because you might think it's unnecessary, but the difference after cleaning? Night and day. A Throttle body scrub restores crisp throttle response. A clean airflow sensor gives your engine the right fuel mix again. Together, they make your car feel younger, smoother, and more efficient. If you assume them, you'll waste gas, strain your spark plugs, and stress the engine. Cleaning costs around $100 to $200, but skipping it can lead to misfires or clogged catalytic converters worth $3,000. Even the most careful driver can't prevent buildup. It's inevitable with time. So if your car feels breathless at 100,000 miles, don't just blame old age. Sometimes it just needs a good deep breath. A mechanic knows it. Now you do too. Still with me? What slips out the tailpipe can tell a darker story hiding underneath. Number 13. Inspect exhaust system for hidden leaks. Your exhaust won't leak because you hit a pothole. That's not how it works. At a while, leaks sneak in slowly through rust, corrosion, or tiny cracks you can't see. It's silent at first. No roar, no smoke. Just a little loss of efficiency that most drivers brush off. But mechanics know better. They crawl under your car, tapping pipes, checking welds, and listening for the faint hiss of escaping gases. Those tiny leaks matter. They let exhaust slip out before sensors can read it, throwing off your fuel mixture. Suddenly, you're burning more gas, losing horsepower, and failing emissions tests. The danger runs deeper than wasted fuel. Exhaust leaks can push carbon monoxide into the cabin. You won't smell it, you won't see it. But long drives with a slow leak can leave you drowsy, or worse. That's why pros quietly inspect your system during milestone services. A small fix, maybe $150 for a clamp or patch, keeps your car breathing right. Wait too long, and you're replacing the entire exhaust for $1,500 or more. Don't wait for the loud growl to tell you it's bad. Leaking gases whisper warnings, while another unsung hero spins endlessly, ready to unravel in a snap. Number 12. Service or replace serpentine belt and pulleys. This part under your car hood is a silent workhorse. It drives your alternator, water pump, and steering. One snap and the car grinds to a halt. Good mechanics always take a close look. They feel tension, listen for squeals, and spot wear. Sometimes they notice glazing or small cracks and wait. But once ribs go missing, replacement isn't optional. Servicing isn't just about the belt itself. Pulleys and tensioners guide and protect its movement. If they're worn or misaligned, the new belt suffers. Replacing a tired tensioner early saves bigger headaches later. You can even check at home. Look for fraying edges, missing chunks, or oil stains. Once contaminated, rubber breaks down faster than you think. Costs aren't outrageous if caught on time. A new belt runs $25 to $75. Labor adds $80 to $200, depending on the car. Full jobs with pulleys climb toward $400 to $800. Waiting too long is where it gets painful. A broken belt can cook the engine. It can also wreck alternators and bearings. If you hear chirps or whining, pay attention. Catching it early keeps you from roadside misery. Number 11. Test alternator and starter health. You turn the key to silence, or worse, a slow, painful crank. In that moment, it's not your battery failing you. It's the hidden duo most drivers forget, the alternator and the starter. These parts rarely scream for attention. They whisper, a flickering dashboard light, a faint whine when you reverend, a sluggish crank on cold mornings. Small clues you dismiss until one day, nothing. Mechanics don't wait for that day. They quietly test voltage while the car idles. They watch how it reacts under load. To them, hesitation is already a warning. To you, it feels normal until the tow truck arrives. A weak alternator overworks your battery. A tired starter drags until the wiring fries. Both can kill other systems before they die themselves. That's why ignoring them gets expensive. $300, $600, sometimes $1,000 with labor. Replacing them before failure feels unnecessary until you're stranded in a parking lot at midnight. That's why mechanics check and don't always explain, because the happiest breakdown is the one that never happens. Number 10. Flush brake fluid and service hardware. Stopping isn't optional. Yet most drivers forget their brakes have more to do than just pads and rotors. The real weakness hides in the fluid. Brake fluid isn't sealed forever. It slowly absorbs moisture from the air. Water in the lines lowers the boiling point. Push the pedal hard on a hot day, and suddenly, your brakes feel soft, spongy, or delayed. That split second can be the difference between a scare and a crash. Mechanics know this. They flush the fluid during big services, even when customers never ask. Fresh fluid restores firm pedal feel and reliable stopping distance. And it doesn't stop there. Hardware rust builds in the background. Slide pins stick, springs seize, pads drag and wear unevenly. You hear nothing, but your car is working twice as hard to stop. By the time you notice, repair costs climb, calipers seize, rotors warp. A $100 fluid service turns into a $600 overhaul. So when mechanics quietly service brake fluid and hardware, it isn't upselling, it's protection. Safety systems fail in silence, and this one deserves attention before it ever gets noisy. Number 9. Flush and replace transmission fluid. Lifetime fluid sounds comforting, but it's one of the biggest myths in car care. Transmission fluid is not immortal. It breaks down slowly with heat, friction, and time, just like engine oil. By 100,000 miles, mechanics know the truth. They'll pull the dipstick or sample the fluid during service. If it smells burnt, looks dark, or feels gritty between their fingers, the transmission is already stressed. The danger is invisible to most drivers. A car may shift fine one day, then slam gears, or hesitate the next. That's not magic. That's worn-out fluid failing to protect delicate parts inside. Fresh transmission fluid keeps gears cool, lubricated, and smooth. It prevents the hidden wear that leads to slipping, jerks, or complete failure. And here's the catch. Waiting until symptoms appear is often too late. A simple flush becomes a $3,000 rebuild. Mechanics don't always push the service. Many customers balk at the cost or believe the lifetime sticker, but the careful ones quietly do it, protecting you from roadside heartbreak. Transmission care isn't glamorous. It won't make your car faster, but it will keep it alive longer, saving thousands in repairs you'll never see coming. Number 8. Deep clean the fuel system. Gasoline doesn't stay perfectly clean forever. Tiny bits of carbon, varnish, and residue build up inside injectors and fuel rails. Over thousands of miles, they start choking your engine. The result? Rough idle, weak acceleration, and worse fuel economy. Many drivers think a $10 bottle of cleaner fixes it. Truth is, those additives act more like aspirin than surgery. They might ease symptoms, but rarely remove heavy deposits. That's why mechanics quietly perform deep fuel system cleanings with pressurized machines and strong solvents. The difference afterward feels like a new car: smoother throttle, sharper response, and better mileage. After years of driving, buildup is almost guaranteed. The injectors don't spray fuel in a fine mist anymore. Instead, they dribble, leaving the engine to struggle. That inefficiency adds stress to spark plugs, oxygen sensors, and even the catalytic converter. A professional cleaning clears the gunk your tank additives can't touch. It restores balance across all cylinders, keeping the engine efficient and emissions low. Mechanics rarely push the service because most customers skip extras, but ignoring it robs your car of power and longevity. A proper deep clean is not luxury. It's maintenance that pays back every time you press the gas. Number 7. Overhaul your cooling system. Engines don't forgive heat. One boil over, and you're looking at warped heads, cracked gaskets, or even a seized block. That kind of damage doesn't creep. It strikes suddenly, often without warning. The mistake most drivers make? Believing a coolant flush is the cure-all. Fresh antifreeze helps, but by 100,000 miles, the real weak links are deeper. Thermostats get sticky, water pumps start wobbling on worn bearings. Rubber hoses, once flexible, turn brittle and split under pressure. Each of these parts can fail quietly, then leave you stranded in seconds. Mechanics know it. They'll glance at your pump, hoses, and thermostat while you're not paying attention. If one looks sketchy, they swap it and move on. No long explanation, no lecture. Why? Because it's standard survival maintenance, not an upsell. The price difference is brutal. A full cooling system, refresh, pump, thermostat, hoses might cost $400 to $800. Ignore it, and an overheated engine can burn through $3,000 to $6,000 easily. Your cooling system isn't background hardware. It's the silent bodyguard that keeps your engine alive. Replace the weak links before they snap, and you'll avoid the kind of breakdowns that turn cars into junkyard metal. Number 6. Inspect and replace cracked CV boots before axle failure. Grease on your driveway is never a good sign. Sometimes it's not a leak at all. It's your CV boot spitting its guts out. Those little rubber boots cover your CV joints, the parts that let your wheels flex and turn smoothly. Over time, rubber cracks. One split boot lets dirt in, grease out, and suddenly metal grinds on metal. The joint starts clicking during turns, and once that happens, the damage is already in motion. Here's the trap. Mechanics often see tiny cracks during inspections. If it's not fully torn, they don't always push replacement. Why? Because most drivers won't spend on something that still works. But waiting turns a $50 to $100 boot fix into a $400 to $800 axle replacement. A cracked CV boot doesn't scream for attention like brakes or a flashing dash light. It whispers. Grease spray on the inside of a wheel, a faint smell of burning rubber, a light popping sound when you steer sharply. Catching it early saves hundreds, maybe thousands. Leave it alone, and you're not just paying for an axle, you're risking losing control when the joint finally gives up mid-drive. Number 5. Test suspension with the bounce test. Your tires touch the road, but your suspension decides how safe that contact really is. By 100,000 miles, shocks and struts often fade, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The danger? It hides in plain sight. You won't always hear clunks or rattles. Instead, your car starts nosediving during braking. It leans too far in turns. On the highway, it feels unsettled, like it wants to drift with the wind. Mechanics don't need fancy tools to spot this. They push down hard on a fender, step back, and watch. If the car bounces more than once, the suspension is tired. That tiny test reveals what your tires and brakes are silently suffering from. And here's the truth. Worn shocks aren't just annoying. They extend your braking distance by several feet. They chew up tires, strain steering parts, and in rain, they make hydroplaning far more likely. Replacement isn't pocket change, anywhere from $400 to $1,000 depending on the setup. But compare that to yearly tire replacements, or worse, skidding through an intersection. Soft landings vanish with worn shocks, but the real high-stakes gamble is timing. Miss it, and the engine destroys itself instantly. Number 4. Replace timing belt or chain before it breaks. When it snaps, pistons and valves collide, and the damage is instant. No second chances, just a dead engine and a repair bill that could hit $3,000 to $7,000. Mechanics know this well, but many drivers don't. That's why they rarely bring it up unless you ask, or the belt is already frayed. To them, replacing it early feels like optional maintenance. To you, it's the difference between a reliable car and a catastrophic failure. Timing belts and chains don't give warning noises. No squeak, no rattle, nothing. Instead, they quietly wear down with heat, friction, and age. Around 90,000 to 120,000 miles, depending on the car, the risk spikes. Chains last longer, but even they stretch, throwing off timing and stressing other parts. Replacement isn't cheap, typically $600 to $1,200, especially if the water pump gets swapped at the same time. But that cost buys peace of mind and prevents engine destruction. Even the most careful driver can't outrun wear. Rubber and metal have shelf lives. Ignore it, and you're gambling with the heart of your car. Replace it on time, and your engine thanks you with years of quiet, dependable service. When timing holds, the fire still depends on sparks. Weak ignition turns strength into stumbles, mile after mile. Number 3. Swap out spark plugs and weak ignition coils. After a year or two, spark plugs are usually tired. They may still fire, but not with the same snap they had when new. That means weaker combustion, sluggish acceleration, and wasted fuel creeping up without notice. Ignition coils are the next weak link. Instead of failing all at once, they die one by one. A driver feels a misfire, takes the car in, and gets just the bad coil replaced. Mechanics rarely suggest swapping the rest, because technically the car still runs. But waiting guarantees more shop visits. Misfiring isn't harmless. Every weak spark lets raw fuel slip into the exhaust, where it burns too late. That extra heat cooks catalytic converters, an ugly $1,000 plus repair, all from a $10 plug that overstayed its welcome. A fresh set of plugs and healthy coils restore engine snap instantly. You'll feel smoother idle, quicker throttle, and better mileage. Full replacement usually costs $200 to $600 depending on the car. No driver outruns wear forever. Spark plugs and coils age out no matter how gentle the miles. Replace them before misfires creep in and the engine stays crisp instead of limping toward expensive trouble. An engine that coughs is one warning, but nothing silences a car faster than the fading heartbeat of its battery. Number 2, test and replace aging battery. A car battery rarely dies suddenly. It fades quietly, one crank at a time. At 100,000 miles, many are already on borrowed time, even if they still start your engine today. Mechanics know this. They clip on a load tester during routine service. It shows the real story, voltage under stress. A weak battery might still crank in summer, but in cold weather, it collapses. That's when you turn the key, hear a slow groan, and the car just clicks. Most drivers shrug it off. It started, so it's fine. Until one morning, it doesn't. Then it's tow trucks, lost time, and frustration. A healthy battery swap costs $120 to $250 installed. Compare that to $300 plus for towing and lost work. Old batteries also strain the alternator and starter. Both are expensive, with repairs running $400 to $800. Replacing the battery early protects the whole system. Mechanics rarely push the change because many customers won't spend on what still works. Batteries don't wave a white flag before quitting. They give whispers, slow cranks, dim lights, strange electrical hiccups. Ignore those, and you'll learn the hard way on a freezing morning or in a dark parking lot. A quick swap today saves hours of regret tomorrow. Electricity breathes life into every system, yet the final secret decides how fresh the air is for both machine and driver. Number 1, replace engine and cabin filters together. Cabin, decide how clean that air is. Most people forget them until airflow chokes or the AC smells funky. The engine filter guards against dust, pollen, and road grit. Starve the engine of air, and it burns more fuel for less power. Acceleration drops, MPG slips, and the car feels lazy. Pop the old filter out after 20 to 30,000 miles, and you'll often find it clogged like a dirty vacuum bag. A new one costs $20 to $40, but saves far more in wasted fuel. The cabin filter, meanwhile, protects you. It screens pollen, soot, and even mold spores before they reach your lungs. Ignore it long enough, and every drive feels like breathing through a dusty rag. In cities, these filters clog twice as fast. For allergy sufferers, a clean cabin filter isn't luxury, it's survival. Mechanics usually swap both during bigger services, but rarely emphasize the impact. Do them together. The job takes minutes, tools are minimal, and the payoff is instant. Crisp throttle response and fresh air inside. Now you've seen the hidden list, but mileage isn't the only trap. Some parts fail quietly, anytime, and the repair bill stings hard. Don't miss 17 hidden car parts that fail quietly and then cost you thousands.